Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in learning just a little bit more of this ancient language, my native tongue a day. Okay, so yesterday we talked about a 'T恤衫, which is a translation of T-shirt in Chinese, and we make 衫 the meaning carrier because it's a generic term for a type of top, type of shirt. Ancient time with the 3 strokes, that means it's a decorative piece of shirt. And T simply is T-shirt. This is T as this, translated, captured, exactly the same. Probably that's one of the few. I couldn't recall at the moment of any other translation from English that keep the English letter as is in the language. We always would attempt to replace it with a similar sounding Chinese, like translation by the similarity of the sound, like the xu, it's kind of a shirt sound translation, but we keep the T over there. I couldn't think of anything else. And as I said, the T translation as TTT, right? Because the shape of a T-shirt, the shirt came from the letter T. It looks like that. So Chinese, whoever translated, intentionally keep that T letter in a word. Okay, well, I guess one more thing is because this letter T keeps the essence of Chinese as a visual language, as an iconographic language or logographic, something about like a pictorial language, because T is the shape of that shirt. So that makes total sense. Okay. Today we continue with 衣衫不整, the same shirt, but now we have, okay, clothing, 衣 and 衫. You can see same character, this one with 3 strokes. So that's how Chinese is made up with. And we come from basic things and then we layer extra meaning to it. So clothing is even more generic. Clothing, it could be both the top and the bottom. There's no specifications over here, but it do depict the kind of neckline wrapped in here. And I just gave out my second theory, not my new understanding of what this cone shape hat would have been. It's the back side of the collarbone. And yeah, I'm trying to remember if ancient Chinese clothing, like this thing, this tip thing, it could be the shaping of the clothing, because okay, our human body is a 3-dimensional shape and clothing is 2D, it's a flat piece of fabric. We have to mold it somehow onto your body and kind of fit to go along the curves of your body, right? So when it comes to having a turn or having a shape that's not flat, like over here, the front panel is kind of, I mean, for me, it's flat. Then the back piece, it could be used over here, like a sewn together, a kind of an extra fabric over there. So things are molded to follow the curve of your back better. I don't know. I'm trying to explain why there's a thing over here. But this could be the top-down view of the collar in the backside of the clothing. So the whole thing would be the front neckline, the back neckline, and this is the whole top portion of the clothing. And it could be both the top and bottom, even if there is no trousers. I mean, trousers is a Western invention. Chinese back then, probably they have a type of trousers, and it must be because people have to work in a farm. You cannot wear gowns to the farm, right? Type of trousers, but different. So over here is not represented, but this neckline structure shows the kind of the standard of clothing making, and that's enough to represent that's the clothing we're talking about here. And so here with this, we talk about layers of clothing you wear: inner wear, outer wear. Inner wear keep you warm, keep you comfortable, keep easy to change. kind of like a pillowcase, but on the inside. So it wraps around you. You can just wash the pillowcase easier, right? You don't want to wash your pillow, the whole thing. So the outerwear with the decoration is the one that to present yourself, to look good, right? It's not really functional. The only function serves to look good. And then that's the piece of wear you don't want to wash that often. Probably don't wash ever, because it will lose color or luster or neatness, the freshness, crispness of the clothing. So you want to keep it as is. So the solution is to wear an innerwear, so you don't soil your outerwear. So this is technically outerwear, but in contemporary Chinese, I mean, we don't have such high class living, right? We throw in the garment to the washing machine every time. So nobody really gave too much thought about what to wear, what to wash, how to wash, even if washing machines do have different settings of what wash you're supposed to have. But most of us just throw in the whole thing together. But this yi and shen originally came from generic clothing, the specific outer decorated clothing. Okay, bu, we have this bird thing flying toward the sky, refusing to come down, saying no to the ground. So that's I'm still buying that story until I see other explanations, better explanations. But right now, it's a bird. This is the skyline. It's flying toward the sky, not going down. So that's not. Interesting way to negate, right? Kind of poetic way to negate. That's the origin of not. Okay, and neat is a little bit complicated in the sense of it came from three symbols pieced together: top, left, right, and bottom. Top left is shu. Came from a farming practice of after you harvest your crop. So this upturning curve and bottom turning, upward and downward turning curves connected with a vertical line. That's our generic plant symbol. So that's something related. I mean, originally it was tree, right? But it got these structures simply means something from the earth, is a plant growing from the earth. So after you harvest it, you try to, in the process of transporting the plant, you want to keep it as tightly bundled as possible without harming the original structure or nutrition value or whatever, by binding it. So this circular structure in the middle of the skinny part of the whole structure means it's a bundle. So I'm not sure if it was a rope or something to confine the space. So instead of let the plant to retain its original shape, which can be pretty spacious, the plants were put together and then bundled tightly. So smaller volume, you can transport more easily. So that kind of came from agricultural practice. I guess imagine for contemporary living is a Christmas tree, right? So when you carry Christmas tree back home on top of a car, you're going to have the tree bundled somehow. Okay, so that's a kind of bundling, and eventually that tree binding practice extended over to people binding, behavior binding, disciplining, confining, like containing spatially. And eventually that becomes like you're bound by something. So disciplined, ordered, confined. That is the extended meaning. The right side is three-finger hand symbol, like that, right? And then with this vertical, horizontal. So that, some scholars say, is the device to tell fortune telling. And in other contexts, that means it's kind of flogging. Is it flogging? So kind of whip thing to hit people. So in the time of we don't, I mean, right now, scholars are also unproven theories. Like we didn't live in the past. We don't exactly know what's in the mind of language creator when they create this icon, but it's like something hold in hand and the action was taken. It could be whipping, like a pretty violent, or it could be lightly knock, 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 something like that. But you're doing something with the hand, supposedly, especially when it paired with confining, binding, disciplining. This is something we would imagine as a disciplining action, right? To flog somebody, corporal punishment kind of image. So this together with the bottom here is our foot symbol, some weird abstraction process of the visuals of how a human foot look like. So these are 3 toes of the foot. Interesting, just like a 3-finger hand, right? It's an abstraction of foot. And this is kind of the arch, the main sole portion of the foot. So yes, I don't know why the foot was abstract like that, but probably it's easier to write because you can draw this easily instead of drawing out the curves of the foot. Foot is a pretty complicated structure, right? And then this is foot, and there is direction of that foot, which is where your toes are facing. And here, the horizontal line, when we have one horizontal line, just like this bird is facing one horizontal line, that's the skyline in the context of a bird. But in the context of foot symbol, that means the destination, the goal, the end point you want to reach. So if you have your toes oriented toward the goal, the destination, that means you are facing it squarely. You're not divert to other paths. You're facing your goal directly. So this square, we eventually use it to mean squarely facing something. Actually, in Chinese, we translate 正方形 as a square, the shape of square. And this 正 is meaning this square, because now thinking about it, the toes facing that means it's perpendicular to that horizontal line. That's the type of square we're talking about. So the disciplining, the binding, so I guess this is the result of the disciplining, the action of disciplining somebody. And the binding is like the requirement, the demand of the verbal disciplining, probably this is physical disciplining. The result is you always, the result is try to orient somebody facing whatever goal you want them to face. And that whole complicated picture is our need, the meaning of need. In this context is simply to kind of straighten your collars, smooth out the wrinkles on your clothing to look more presentable, to basically straighten your clothing. And when we say 衣衫不整, that means it's not straightened, it's wobbly, it's not neat. And so neat in that sense is not tidy. So here you can see this tidying, this disciplining process here. And the goal is to make things oriented correctly toward a certain direction. So 衣衫不整 is a negation of that correctly orientation. So that I translate as sloppy, somebody who doesn't take much care of how clothings are oriented if they're placed nicely. So anyways, this is a continuation of yesterday's idea of the fancy ancient costume from centuries ago, like 1500 years ago. So here you can see this character means what dynasty that is. Chinese use one character, Chinese, to kind of like initials of that dynasty. Kind of like Victoria period, right? In English, you have to use two things paired together. If you say Victoria, it's a generic, you don't really know you're talking about a historical period. But if we put these Chinese characters, just Victoria, something like that, is enough for all Chinese to know, oh, you're talking about dynasty, because even if China is a long string of history, there are many, many dynasties in there. Well, on top of mind, I don't exactly know how many dynasties, but I spend a lot of time to memorize the dynasty, the beginning and the end, how it fell, how it rise, who started, who founded the dynasty. Oh, okay, so these dynasties, just one character is enough for Chinese to read, oh, this you're talking about whatever historical dynasty or era. So these are the clothings corresponding to that dynasty, that era. And these are showing different ways, or the costume change, people wear things differently. So this is the oldest, Han, Ji, Tang, Song, Ming male version. So these are some ancient wear that, I mean, contemporary, this you can see this is Chinese Bazaar magazine to imagine how ancient people are clothes, are outfit themselves. And well, okay, let's get back. I cannot stop. Oh shoot. Are we okay? Are we stopping here? Okay. Okay, I think my battery is running out. It's not showing. Okay, so this, well, it keeps moving. Okay, so that wrapping neckline process, that not process, structure is the origin of that. So that's what I want to show you for. Oh, you don't, okay, you don't see that. Okay. Anyways, catching to the concept of thinking about one word a day. I doubt anybody watched to the end. If you do, let me know. Thanks.